President, in the eyes of the international community, some of your Philippines' behavior in recent times, it now sounds like you really consider other parties' comfort level, and there is a risk of ruining the regional long-earned, long-lasting peace since the end of the, colonialist history. What's your comments on that? Thank you very much, Chair. Give me this wonderful chance to ask a question to President. President, in the eyes of the international community, some of your Philippines' behavior in recent times, it now sounds like you really consider other parties' comfort level, and there is a risk of ruining the regional long-earned, long-lasting peace since the end of the colonialist history. What's your comments on that?
Quite the contrary. I think if you examine more closely the remarks that I just made, I precisely focus on ASEAN centrality, and that the principles that are laid down that are involved in the concept of ASEAN centrality are some things that we must use to guide us. And when we talk about the South China Sea, we have to also remember that the South China Sea is the passageway for half of the world trade. And therefore, the peace and stability of the South China Sea and the freedom of navigation of the South China Sea is a world issue. And that is what I am proposing. And I am saying that yes, it is a regional issue, but we must examine and be part of the discussion. We must include all parties in that discussion, because now it is not just ASEAN member states who are stakeholders, and it is quite easy to see that it is in fact the entire world that have become stakeholders in the peace and stability of our region.
President Marcos, I'm going to ask you a very direct question, if you don't mind, which is, if Chinese Coast Guard water cannons killed a Filipino sailor, would that cross a red line? And then can you also give us a sense of what are the actions that would trigger a request from Manila to Washington to invoke the U.S.-Philippines Mutual Defense Treaty?
If a Filipino citizen is killed by a willful act, that is, I think, very, very close to what we define as an act of war. And therefore, we will respond accordingly. And our treaty partners, I believe, also hold that same standard for when the actions, with the joint action, will be undertaken in support of any such incident in the Philippines. Thank God, we have not yet gotten to the point where any of our participants, civilian or otherwise, have been killed. But once we get to that point, that is certainly, we would have crossed the Rubicon. Certainly crossed the Rubicon. Is that a red line? Almost certainly it's going to be a red line.
So what specific force packages are you eyeing particularly in the next coming years? And what exactly are we to expect after Horizon 3 of the AFP modernization program?
The Horizon 3 acquisition program is the acquisition program that our Department of National Defense has just completed. Then we are presently in the process of finding suppliers for all the different requirements that we have to build up our capabilities in the armed forces of the Philippines to work for peace, prepare for war. And it is an unfortunate truth, but and that is why we have undertaken this long-term. It has been going on for many years now. This long-term plan of increasing the capabilities of our military and our civilians, such as the Coast Guard in the Philippines.
You have helped us to set the agenda. You have provoked our thinking. You spurred us to action. That is the keynote speech that we needed. That is the keynote speech that we got. You have sung for your supper. I think it's time for you to enjoy it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mga minamahal kong kababayan, good morning po at magandang umaga. Hatid ko po ang pasalubong ng magandang balita para sa inyong lahat pagkatapos ng aking state visit sa Brunei Darussalam at yung aking working visit sa Singapore. It is my inaugural state visit to Brunei Darussalam, an ASEAN neighbor, and this is the first time that a Philippine leader will deliver the keynote speech at the International Institute for Strategic Studies, also known as the Shangri-La Dialogue in Singapore. Both visits were productive and engaging. I met with His Majesty Sultan Haji Hassan al-Bolkiah Muizzuddin Wadwala and comprehensively discussed the state of our overall bilateral ties. This year marks 40 years of diplomatic relations between our two countries, and our conversation covered many facets of our relations, from defense and security, maritime cooperation, economic cooperation, and people-to-people exchanges. We aspired for stronger bilateral cooperation to work together to ensure that peace and security reigns in the ASEAN region. The visit was a success as we signed 3 memoranda of understanding, 1 letter of intent. The 3 MOUs signed during the visit on tourism cooperation, on international convention and the standards of training and certification and watchkeeping for seafarers, and on maritime cooperation. The MOU on tourism cooperation will provide our respective tourism agencies a definite roadmap to ensure a sustainable and continuous stream of tourists who will be attracted to visit and to explore each other's countries. Through the MOU on STCW, our overseas Filipino seafarers who were issued Philippine national certificates are now recognized in Brunei. Finally, the signing of the MOU on maritime cooperation provides Brunei and the Philippines a good foundation for maritime activities to be undertaken jointly. Our respective agencies have also signed a letter of intent on agricultural cooperation, which will serve as a precursor for further cooperation ensuring food security between our two countries. In addition to these successes on the bilateral front, we also further assured Brunei that it can count on the Philippines' support on regional affairs as we stated our clear position for Brunei to establish the ASEAN Center for Climate Change. While in Brunei, our key government players and business sector engaged in productive dialogue with their counterparts. The Philippine Business Forum highlighted agribusiness, renewable energy, halal development, and opportunities in the Bimpiaga and BARM. The forum, attended by 200 representatives from diverse Bruneian business sectors, explored collaborative opportunities and showcased the Philippines' potential as a significant player in the Bimpiaga region. The established linkages between the Philippines and Brunei business sectors are expected to yield significant commercial benefits, including increased trade and investment opportunities, enhanced market access for goods and services, and the sharing of technological innovations and best practices. The meeting with the energy sector was attended by executives from oil and gas companies such as Brunei Shell Petroleum Company, Sendiran Berhad, Brunei LNG Sendiran Berhad, Total Energies in Brunei, Serikandi Oilfield Services Sendiran Berhad, and the Adnin Group of companies. Through this engagement, we learned that Brunei is actively exploring renewable energy sectors opportunities by establishing interconnections with neighboring countries. I share that likewise, the Philippines is also attempting to increase the share of renewable energy on top of the current oil and gas energy mix with the help of existing legislation such as the Renewable Act of 2008. We assure Bruneian businessmen that Philippine government is committed to encourage foreign investors and players in the renewable sector, and in the process continue to boost our country's trajectory in economic, sustainable, and inclusive growth. Mga kababayan, we will continue to work to realize our dream of being a high-income economy by 2040. While we are on the topic of jobs, I also met with the Filipino community in the Sultanate. Through the years they have spent here, they have proven to be an invaluable part of the economy of the Sultanate. During our engagement, I assured them of my administration's tireless endeavors and projects in ensuring their safety and well-being. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat. Makakasiguro po kayo na ipapatupad ko ang aking pangako, and in the near future, there will be abundant jobs in the country, so that overseas employment will become a choice, not a necessity. In Singapore, I met with the leaders of the country, namely President Tharman Shanmugaratnam and newly appointed Prime Minister Lawrence Wong. The deep bonds of friendship between our countries are evident in all our conversations. The President has already graced our invitation for him to visit and is planning a visit to our country in August. And the Prime Minister, he says he will follow as quickly as he can. And this is very important, as most especially 2024 marks 55 years of diplomatic relations between the two countries. We committed to work hard in pursuing the signing of 3 near-completion MOUs by the time the Singaporean President visits Manila later this year. Most importantly, the visit also offered us an opportunity to tell the region and the world the Philippines' outlook on our vision for the region. I delivered the 2024 keynote address at the IISS Shangri-La Dialogue, where I expounded the realities and constraints that we now, as active players in the region, face. Mga kababayan, as a responsible member of the international community, I took the opportunity of the Shangri-La Dialogue to tell the representatives of at least 48 countries in front of me that the lines we draw on our waters are derived not from imagination, but from international law. Unlike others, we submitted our assertions to rigorous legal scrutiny by the world's leading jurists. Besides the keynote speech, the Shangri-La Dialogue also allowed us to meet with other countries who are interested in the Philippines' cause. I met with representatives from Lithuania and some of the members of the U.S. congressional delegation and discussed future ways to improve collaboration and cooperation between our countries. My promise to all Filipinos, we will use every opportunity and continue to build bridges that will ensure a long-lasting peace and stability in our region. Marami pong salamat.